Europe's oil majors have all said that they won't be buying any more Russian origin cargoes, but they don't seem to be able to agree on what counts as Russian origin and what doesn't. I'm Thomas Warner with this week's European Products Update. In this week's update, I'm looking at the conundrum facing people across the refined product markets of just how Russian a cargo has to be before it counts as being of Russian origin. I'll be sitting down with Argus diesel and refining expert Benedict George to get his expert take, but first here's a quick summary of the problem. Europe's reliance on Russian energy has so far made it impossible for European governments to officially sanction Russian oil and gas imports, but some of Europe's largest energy companies have decided to stop importing Russian cargoes on a purely voluntary basis. The voluntary nature of this self-sanctioning means that there aren't actually any rules for companies to follow about what constitutes Russian material. Some are refusing to buy cargoes that contain even a single molecule originating in a Russian refinery, while others will accept a cargo comprised wholly of Russian material, so long as it stops off somewhere else briefly en route. With people willing to pay premiums for non-Russian origin material, the need for clarity is becoming increasingly obvious. So I sat down with Benedict George to get a better sense of how the markets are responding to this Russian origin conundrum and how we can fix it. Okay, so it's all gotten very complicated.
It has indeed. It's actually the first time I've heard oil traders admit that they're confused about pricing. Companies in Europe are now divided quite substantially on what they regard as a Russian diesel cargo and whether they're willing to buy those cargoes and what price they're willing to pay for them. So some companies are not prepared to take a cargo that even contains 1% Russian refined diesel. Some companies won't take 50% or more Russian diesel blend, and some companies will take a diesel cargo even if it all came from Russia, but if it's been in a different country in the meantime and if it's sold by a company that's not Russian. And all of these different definitions of Russian diesel, all of these different attitudes come with different price points that people are going to have to pay for the diesel, because the stricter you are, the less supply you have available to buy. So somebody like Total, for example, Total Energies, who are being the strictest really in terms of refusing a cargo that's even in any part Russian refined, they're likely to have to pay the highest prices, whereas a company that's willing to take it from a tank after a few days when the whole thing's actually Russian, they're gonna pay a lower price.
And companies like ours have a responsibility to people in the market to make sure that we produce kind of quotes for these different prices, which are ideally perfectly reflective of the real value of these things. And it's something we've been working on, isn't it? We've been setting up new assessments to try and offer the market accurate pricing information for non-Russian cargoes now.
Yes, absolutely. So last week we launched a new price assessment for diesel cargoes sized 30,000 tonnes to 60,000 tonnes, delivered to ARA, Amsterdam, Rotterdam, Antwerp in Northwest Europe, which are specified as non-Russian in origin, because we were hearing from traders that that was pricing at a very different level from unrestricted origin cargoes.
And have we settled on a definition for non-Russian?
We're consulting with the market every day about this, and we're waiting and hoping and expecting that the market will find a consensus definition of what a non-Russian cargo is. Currently there is no consensus, and we're reflecting the Shell definition more than any other at the moment, which is the 50% cutoff. So if a cargo is confirmed, provably blended mostly of non-Russian origin diesel, then it can be priced as non-Russian diesel in our assessment. And last week, for most of the week, we were hearing that the spread could be anything between $10 a tonne to 20 or 30, or even some people told us there was $40 a tonne between Russian and non-Russian diesel. We were assessing the two prices about $20 a tonne apart, because that was kind of the midpoint of what we were hearing. There was a trade on Friday on a public platform for a non-Russian, purely non-Russian diesel cargo, pricing at what a number of traders and brokers have told me was a surprisingly low price. So we have now assessed that spread at only $10 a tonne, but we are continuing to consult, as I say, with the market about where they see that spread this week.
So after all of this hoo-ha and noise about the fact that we're not going to be able to take that much diesel from Russia anymore, the difference between Russian and non-Russian is $10.
Yeah.
So it's very little difference.
Exactly. Yeah. So even for the Russian diesel, you are paying a very high price. It's not like in the crude market where, and I don't cover crude personally, but there's a much more significant price difference between Russian and non-Russian crude. Now, enough people in the diesel market are still happy to buy Russian diesel that the Russian price is still very high. So the Germans are still buying a lot of Russian diesel. Poland has refinery maintenance at the moment, which means they're very short of diesel, and they're still buying a lot of Russian diesel as a result. And as I said before, a lot of it is still tied up in term contracts.
So this is why we essentially have seen, since the initial scare with the crude price, we've actually seen diesel prices at the pump stabilise, haven't we? Because there was the initial panic, and now the supply is getting through. The difference between Russian and non-Russian prices is not particularly big. So it has certainly settled down a great deal. But are we saving up problems for the future?
I think there could be a fresh crisis, in a way, when the term contracts that are currently being fulfilled from Russia expire and come around for renegotiation. And a lot of companies have kind of got away so far with saying, we're tied into this contract for like 3 more months. We're receiving Russian diesel. We can't get out of it, so we're just going to keep taking the Russian diesel. Now, in 2 or 3 months' time, a lot of those are going to start running out. And those, some of those might renegotiate Russian contracts, but some of them are going to look for Indian or Saudi or US diesel to replace it. And then we might see the supply available from these other suppliers restricted much more heavily, which will make that diesel a lot more expensive relative to the Russian diesel, which suddenly will be finding it harder to find term contracts to be delivered into, and will be in much higher supply as a result. So we could see this spread widen a lot over the coming 6 months or so.
Mm-hmm. Is that what you expect?
Yes. As far as I would say I expect anything in a very complex and volatile market, yes, I probably do expect that.
Thank you to Benedict for the insights, and thank you for joining me for this most recent edition of the Argus European Products Update. Please like and share the video with your network, and let me wish you a very happy Easter from all of us here at Argus.